Hi, my name is Eline, and with this podcast, I dive deep into the world of chronic illness. What is living with a chronic illness like? What are ways to redefine your purpose when life hit you so hard? How do people do this? I am on the lookout for answers to find out if there is a way to have a life filled with freedom, joy, and happiness, even when it feels like you're a prisoner in your own body. Welcome. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Spoonies Community Podcast. We have our first experts here on the show today. I'm joined by Rachelle and Saskia, who form Not Your Average Psychic. Rachelle and Saskia both have a background in psychology and worked in that field for a long time, yet are now on a spiritual mission to translate and bring the messages of the universe to the people in order for them, and well, all of us, to remember who we truly are. And they do that by giving readings, hosting different online groups, helping people to develop their own psychic abilities, and they host retreats. We will be talking today about pain, health issues, and chronic disease, as I know that many of us are wondering, but why me? And so today I'm hoping to get some answers of these two beautiful ladies and experts within their field as to not only why, but also what is the universal reason behind pain or discomfort. So welcome to both of you, Rachelle and Saskia.
Hello.
Thank you, Elena. Thank you for that beautiful introduction and inviting us to your podcast.
I'm so happy that both of you are here.
Yes, so are we. Very excited and a very important topic to talk about. Yeah, so let's start.
Let's dive
Let's
into
do this.
it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm basically want to ask, like, why are we in pain? Why do people have pain? But I think that's such a big question. So maybe we can break it down in a smaller version already.
I think obviously there's different variations of pain. Obviously there's mental pain, there is, physical pain, and even spiritual pain. But I think the most important thing is that pain is the whole purpose of life. And I know that sounds really weird because it sounds such a negative connotation when you say that, but pain is the purpose of life because it's through pain that you understand what love feels like. Right. So it's only through pain that we can experience both pleasure as well as love. So yes, let's break it down. But also I think the big answer to that question is we experience duality on this planet. And the only way for us to experience love is through darkness and pain.
Yeah.
So that would be, I think, the general answer to the question. Right, Sels?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of times when you are in your human experience and you experience pain that it's very, very hard to understand that is bringing you closer to a deeper understanding of who you truly are.
Yeah.
But that's how universe designed our reality on planet Earth by delving into the duality, as Rachelle just explained, and feeling into what we are not. And getting that deep understanding that you cannot talk about or like explain cognitive. It's really something that you have to feel to really, really understand who you truly are in your essence. Yeah. And it comes with experience. And on planet Earth, that's filled with painful experiences because that's the opposite of who we are.
And so for people who are really at the beginning of their spiritual path and are looking for that question, why am I suddenly going through all of these experiences? What is going on? What would you tell them?
Are you referring to painful experiences, like in particular, or just
let's start with painful experiences, and then we'll come to health experiences afterwards, if that's okay.
Okay. Well, again, it's quite simple. With pain comes clarity. With pain comes growth. With pain comes insights. And with pain comes purpose. So what we overlook all the time is there is a divine reason behind everything that is happening to us. Every experience that we have, especially the shitty ones. Don't like it. I don't understand who wrote this, who thought it was a good idea. It sucks, but it's just the way life on Earth works, right? But what we overlook a lot of the time is that we do need to experience pain in order to understand where we need to be or what we need to do or what we should be focusing on.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it does really bring insights and clarity and growth and ultimately purpose. So especially when you're dealing with chronic illness, for instance, a lot of people, especially when they say, why me? Well, because there's a huge purpose that you have in being not only a spokesperson for this chronic illness, but also, sharing with the world what it is like to navigate pain on a daily basis. So there is so much more to your painful experience than just having to go through it. No, it's like, no, it actually provides you with insights about yourself and clarity as well as purpose.
Yeah. So I completely hear you and I agree. What could insights be around that? Or is it for every individual a very personal thing that they need to gain insights through their...
I think if I just apply to my life, I'm always very open and honest about what I go through in life. And right now I'm going through like a breakup and it's very, very painful. I feel very rejected. And now, does that feeling of rejection have anything to do with the situation at hand? Sure, of course. But it also reminds me of all the other times that I have felt rejected in my life, where I felt unworthy, where I lacked self-respect, self-regard, right? So that is what I mean by it provides you with clarity about what has happened to me. What is it that I'm actually suffering from? What other old stagnant energy and trauma is behind my current painful experience? So that is just one way of, like, for instance, me now dealing with emotional trauma as you would. But this is all goes hand in hand with medical ailments as well. It's not just the psychological aspects of it, but I'm also want to invite Saskia to elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I believe that what also comes to mind, or what I hear while we are talking about this, is that it never stops with pain. I believe that that's also like a deep misunderstanding that we all have, because pain can be very overwhelming, like physical or emotional or on a mental level. And what happens is that often we don't fully allow the pain to guide us to something new, because that's always what is going on. That's always behind the pain, or that's the intention behind pain. It's guiding us towards an expansion of understanding who we truly are, to getting to know ourselves more deeply. And that also means that some things that we for a long time thought that was part of who we were isn't who we truly are. And to let go of certain things on planet Earth, that is also made very, very hard, I believe. Like, we also hold on to a lot of things that don't really serve us anymore, like beliefs about ourselves, habits, the way we go about our day, etc., everything. And the pain also helps you feel into what are my real needs? Who is it that I truly am? How can I express those soul qualities? So it's also very important, I feel, to open that consciousness to there's so much more behind the pain. So the pain is a catalyst. It's helping you move towards a lot of expansion and sharing your soul's energy on planet Earth. And that is something that makes us all very happy. And there's a lot of joy to be found in that. But that is a painful journey on planet. It is same as with giving birth. Like, it's not without pain. It's like giving birth to that new. It comes with a lot of pain, a lot of transformation.
And chaos and turmoil, that's all part of I think what we always preach is a big word, but let's use the word, like, within the company, what we really stand for is, understanding that the way you label pain kind of determines how much you suffer from the pain, right? It's how you label it. And the universe labels any type of pain substantially different from our human mind. And that's where the relief lies. That's where the release lies. If you realize, hey, not why me, but of course me. Of course me, because I have a big purpose to fulfill around this pain that I'm experiencing. So labeling it is really, I feel like you learned this as a psychologist as well. Like, if you perceive something a certain way, that determines the way, you view the world, but also what you experience. You determine your own experience.
Yeah.
In that sense.
And so for people, so obviously I've also had my own very long health journey, and I completely really understand what you mean. It's one of the things that I also really try to incorporate into my work. Like, what words are you using? What are the loops that you're going through, your thought patterns about what you're experiencing, to create that to shift that reality that you're living in. A lot of my listeners are, people who have been stuck in a very long journey, in a very long search, hospital in, hospital out, many, many doctors, and are kind of at the point of, like, where do I go? What do I do? What would you recommend to them to do or to start?
Yeah, so what comes up is that what we just touched upon, the idea about what is going on. Like when you are feeling pain, there is such a strong tendency or strong belief like something is going wrong right now. And if we feel that, like if we believe that something is off, something is wrong, something shouldn't be happening, I believe we all have that when we experience pain.
Yeah.
There's something in our system like tenses up. I don't know how you say that. Like
Seizes up, yeah.
yeah, you can feel the resistance, right? And if you know that pain is here for growth, that wants to be an expansion happening. Like if we tense up, we don't really feel the results of the pain. That's the first thing that came up when you were asking that question. Like there is still a lot to be gained in us trusting pain more, in like letting it flow through your whole system, like really feeling it without believing that very, very strong belief that we all have, something is wrong. No, you're expanding, you're growing. The pain is not here without a reason. It's never the case. And I believe that's also something that is hard, especially when you deal, not especially only with physical pain, but I believe like a lot of people look at physical pain as like, like this is something is wrong and this won't get any better. Sometimes you receive that message even, and it cannot be further from the truth. I feel like there's always growth happening because of pain. When there's pain, you are expanding your consciousness in understanding who you truly are and in sharing more of your true self with the world. And if we really allow that to be part of the experience immediately when the pain is here, like a slight bit of it, because it's really hard when you are in pain, then the energy can flow more freely through your system, which will help you feel that there is wisdom gained and that you feel the expansion already a little bit. That there's not solely the pain. And that feels really important to really stress that and to help each other remember that when we are in pain. The pain is leading you towards something better.
Yeah, and to add on to that, yes, pain is your cue that you're growing and expanding. And for any listeners who don't really understand what that means, what like why would I want to grow and expand? Because let me just live and be. Because with growth and expansion comes more happiness, right? We want to grow, we want to expand because we allow ourselves to be happier versions of ourselves, right? So that's why we want to go through it. But not only is there growth and expansion, there is also guidance. My daughter is chronically ill, so I know, like, I walked into her room and like her nose was bleeding and she's got migraines. And so for her, it's very difficult. I can't just say to her, hey, you're growing and expanding. Wee! However, her dealing with an autoimmune and dealing with these chronic migraines and stuff, she is being guided as well, right? So it's because of the situation at hand that we have to have our creative minds kick in. How do we go about this? What is being asked of us? Maybe you should move differently, eat differently, be differently, say different things that you normally would. So it allows for change. It allows for positive change. So instead of me going into a room and going, what I, of course, as a mother do as well, I also walk into the room and I start asking questions. And sometimes people feel really panicky around asking these new questions. Am I supposed to move differently today? Am I supposed to eat something different today? But that's why it's here for us. Disease means there's misalignment with your real self, true self. So you should be asking these questions. You should. That is what you're supposed to do in life. Ask questions, instill change into your daily habits, into the way you go about things. So it's a compass as well.
I'm very excited. Like I literally feel this like bubbling inside me. Like, yes, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think healing can happen when you're aligned with what you're supposed to be doing, and I think it's a very, very powerful message to tell or to basically stop. Maybe not even in the moment you're a massive amount of pain, because I also know that is very, very difficult to do in that moment, but to stop and ask the questions like, what needs to change? What needs to be doing? Who do I need around me in order to bring upon that change and to help me get through that change and to make those differences?
Yeah, very, very true. And because I know this also brings about some frustration for some of your listeners because they're like,
Yeah.
but I already tried acupuncture. I already tried this. I already tried that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much about just your health itself. It's about allowing yourself to make new choices every single day because you're an ever changing being. You are supposed to change on a chronic level, on an everyday level. And that's what a lot of humans, because we've been raised to choose what we know and not what's good for us,
Yeah.
right? To fall into daily habits. To say, oh, but I like my cup of coffee at 11. Well, your body clearly doesn't. So cut it out. It's like, so
Yeah.
we don't like to break habits. We don't like to ask ourselves new questions like, how can I go about this in a new way? Because
Mm-hmm.
we don't really like change that much. Our mind doesn't like change that much. But I think, on a holistic level, we're supposed to ask ourselves these questions on a daily, like mind, body, soul. What is in my best interest? What is in my soul's best interest?
Mm-hmm.
How do I get in that soul's alignment?
Yeah.
You need to instill change. Change your pen. Change anything will do. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's I think also a reason why a lot of us experience quite intense things in our lives is because
Yeah.
we are reluctant to change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And because I kind of feel from like my old self as well, there's immediately like a lot of resistance coming up. And I know why,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that obviously there's also many listeners still feeling the resistance or the fear of that change, especially when, you are with disease or with pain or fatigue, whatever the symptoms are, and you kind of like barely hold on
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
already with how you're, building your life or how your daily life is. How can you move through that fear, through that resistance in order to slowly start building that change in your life?
Yeah, I believe it's again really important to understand that with the pain being here, also the connection with your soul, with your higher being opens up. So it's at the same time. So although it doesn't always feel like that, but the pain makes it easier to reach higher in the connection with your soul, with your higher being, to understand what it is that wants to change, what you can do to allow that change. So I believe it's also again to trust the pain, because without that pain you wouldn't get the answers, like there's something that is like pushing you out of your comfort zone already because of the pain. Otherwise you wouldn't even bother, you wouldn't even go there. So again, labeling that a little bit differently, and to know that the pain that is here right now, it's helping me go further than I've ever been. It's helping me do or allow these new things to happen that I never allowed in my life. You're already being helped. And again, I'm referring to giving birth. Like if there's like, we couldn't give birth if there wasn't pain, like it brings the new into reality. So without making it too hard, like, oh, I need to do a lot of new things right now, trust the pain first is what I hear. Trust the pain first, because it's already moving you in the new direction. There's already a lot of energy and power in the pain. And that's why we need to label it. And that's why I'm like, keep referring to it, because there's still the like, no, something is wrong. I need to move away from this so that I don't feel it. But the pain is the vehicle that brings you to the new. So if you allow that, then it becomes also easier to hear or feel this is the new that wants to take place in my life. And there's a lot of anticipation fear for the new. But if we start doing it, it's like, why didn't I do this earlier?
Sooner.
Sooner. It's really a lot of the anticipation that is making it hard, because when we step into the new, which is that part that are more aligned with who we truly are, it will feel as a relief as well, because you can feel like, oh, that's me. Ah, yeah, that's who I truly am. Like, this makes more sense. So what is being asked of you to step into will make more sense. But it's that hurdle that can feel as a mountain for all of us. Absolutely what I experience every day, for sure. But it's, if we do it, then there is immediately the benefits, the relief of something that you know very deeply as who you are, that shows up.
Yeah, and I also believe that, again, going back to like moments before we started this podcast, me walking into my daughter's room, she had like 4 good days, and now she's back to square one with her chronic illness. And so the first thing I wanted to ask her, but I had to go into this podcast, so I will do this after we are done, is, hey, maybe we can, introduce something new for you to eat. Or maybe it's good for you to not now go on your iPad and distract yourself, but for me to go on a walk with you. Maybe it's the big changes that create the big waves, right? So especially when you're dealing with like, the situation is so painful, just feel and sense into the fact, okay, but at least I can do this right now differently. Because if you can't expect new results by doing the same thing. So also the word consistency, we have been triggered by society. That's a really positive word. If you're staying consistent, you're going to see results. It's really not true, because mentally, psychologically, spiritually, you're never the same person. You're constantly evolving. So it makes no sense, right? So to go about things and to stay consistent with stuff, we're over it right now on planet Earth.
We're not doing that anymore.
We're not.
Well, we are not allowed to do it anymore.
We're not,
I believe.
because look at me. Yeah, it's like, I mean, look at me. I was going to also say, like, this morning, in the midst of this breakup, it's like, oh, I have the tendency to now walk up to him, want to speak to him. No, Rachelle, I know that you can't now just up and go and uproot your life. You're not there yet, but you can also not go and see him right now. It's like, okay, yeah, that I can do. That I can do. So lower that threshold, make it like more manageable, the choice that you're making. But as long as it's a new choice, you're doing something right, because that's where the pain is guiding you towards, is to change.
Yeah, and I think that's a very important one. Like, lower the threshold if the change feels too big. Lower the thresholds.
Lower the thresholds. Yeah.
So from a universal point of view, are there still different meanings towards either mental pain or physical pain, or fatigue versus an autoimmune disease versus migraines? Are there different meanings to different symptoms?
Yes. Sorry, I have to say, and the only reason I'm saying is because I give medical readings as well. So very specifically, where I just analyze your body. So and Saskia over here is a phenomenal shamanic healer. So there are different subtitles for different illnesses, for sure. Do we have to figure those out? No. So do we have to be understanding of, well, if I've got a liver disease, I've got something on my liver, I'm not speaking enough of my truth. It's not as simple as that, right? So unfortunately, and I'm saying unfortunately, because here in society, we like to know where we're at, right? So if something applies to you, surely that applies to me too. It does not, unfortunately. We're all very unique beings as well. We're ever-changing beings and also unique beings. So if you have a migraine that has a completely different subtitle than it does for me, right? So it's very, and figuring that out, and that's why I love to do medical readings, and figuring out the energetic connotation, the subtitles as to why you experience specifically that type of pain is wonderful, because that also uncovers parts of your purpose. So the fact, for instance, that my daughter deals with migraine means that there is both something to deal that she has to do with her creativity, with her, her colorfulness, but also with the fact that she really understands that what it's like to be impaired and with severe headaches. So it really uncovers a lot about who you are. So why you have that specific pain uncovers a lot about who you are and why you're here on Earth.
And does it also indicate where you need to change?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, but again, this does require some energetic reading that the two of us do. But I would definitely say that, going back, I'm literally sharing my whole life on this podcast, but who cares? We're all humans and we're all going through it.
Thank you for
But for instance, yeah, I know, I love it. Because I feel like this is what the world is also really ready for. It's like, we're human, and human life is freaking difficult and hard. So why not bear all, share all? And so when I walked into the room, all I could feel was the reason that she's having severe nosebleeds and migraine is because something wants to come out of you. Your body is expelling things and making it difficult for you to be too cognitive right now, because you're supposed to be creatively expressive right now. And so that's how you're being, so it's not easy, but this is something that Saskia and I do for each other all day, every day.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I believe it's also good to know that you have the answers in the moment. So but it's also very important to reach out and to know that you don't have to do that all by yourself, because we are very used to doing things by ourselves as well, I feel, and everyone who's listening. So there's
Yeah.
definitely like, please reach out. You don't have to find those subtitles all by yourself, because that's really hard when you are already in pain. But at the same time, your answers are in the connection with soul, with universe. They are here. So it's not like that you are going through pain and then it's like, yeah, we are not saying anything, like universe is like, whoop, no, universe is then communicating with us in different ways. And so also trusting that makes it easier to hear, okay, why is this showing up for me right now? And what is it that this is asking of me right now? And can I lean into that change? Because it's also leaning into that change, because it's that way more soft than like, I now have to like do a 180. I need to change this. I need to change that. Our soul is never asking us that. It's always much kinder and easier what is being asked of us to change or to lean into or to move towards. Yeah, but trust that the answers are here. So whenever there's pain, like it's not pain and then stop. No, pain, expansion, pain, a deeper connection with soul, becoming more apparent or more in your consciousness. You can reach that more easily. Yeah. So
Yeah, I think maybe just to clarify that a little bit more. So, the presence of your soul is closer when you're in pain. And that sounds really weird because it's like, no, it's whenever you're in love. It's whenever no, 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 no. The presence of your soul is in closest proximity when we're in pain. And us humans have never learned how to deal with that or to use that to their advantage because they're like, no, pain, bad, bye. And so also ignoring pain, suppressing pain is literally ignoring soul, suppressing soul. And how do you go about doing that? Is like once you then allow yourself to make a new choice or decision, you actually can hear her, them, they, him more clearly because you're creating realignment, right? With disease, you're being asked to create realignment. And so you will be more in touch with your intuition. So, because whenever time I can understand that for some of your listeners, this is all like new lingo. You find a deeper connection with soul. Okay, wonderful. Again, why do you want that? One, because it makes you happier. It allows for you to be more authentically yourself. It relieves you of unnecessary suffering. So it's actually, other people with more normal lingo, day-to-day lingo would say, I can feel my intuition more clearly in those moments.
Yeah.
I'm more intuitively attuned.
I do really agree with that. So to also openly share on here, I was in hospital a few days ago because I had insane pain. Like my stomach, my bowels were just not working anymore at all. That was just completely blocked. And I was like, is this a bowel obstruction or is it just a very heavy IBS symptom, but one that I haven't had since I was 11 years old. So about a bit over 20 years ago. And I realized because of all the work that I've done over the last few years that I was like, okay, I do want to have it checked out to see if it's not a bowel obstruction, but I just really need a very, very, very good cry and get some anger out of my system. And probably it'll be okay afterwards, or it will at least start moving again. And I felt in that sense what you were describing with when you're in pain, your soul is closer. I knew that as kind of like a gut feeling, pun intended, to that was actually the message that was coming through. Feel these emotions that are there. It was also the first time that I was holding back emotions in a very long time, the weekend before. So it was kind of like as if my body was just showing, we don't do this anymore, Eline. This is in the past. We're not holding back emotions anymore because this is what happens. And this is, such
It's beautiful.
resonate with what you're saying, like that in pain, your soul's closer, your intuition is a lot stronger about that as well.
And I think that what you're also describing, which I think is very important, is that holistic view that you just immediately put onto the situation. So the fact that you are dealing with stomach pain also obviously means that there is a distortion with your emotional sense of self and your spiritual sense of self. So everything is interrelated, interconnected, and that is, well, we just recorded a whole podcast about this, and
I know.
that's such a shame that we're we really still think, oh, I've got like, oh my God, I got such bad pain in my stomach. Let's just over focus on the stomach. It's like, no. That's not what your stomach is asking of you right now.
Yeah.
It's all of those disciplinaries, like, okay, my emotional state of being, my mental state of being, my psychological state of being. We have to go through all of that.
Yeah.
And also knowing that your bowel pain is also related to other parts and organs in your body.
Yeah.
So, it's a beautiful approach, what you just described, what you applied to yourself.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I listened to the podcast that you recorded, and I was texting Saskia already, like, oh my God, this is exactly what I mean.
Absolutely. Eline will be part of the healing house here in Ibiza.
In
Love that.
Yeah, for sure. And what also comes up is that, like, also for all the listeners, like being so sensitive in your system and like feeling a lot through the body also means that you have the capacity to connect more deeply with your true self. Like there wants to also be a positive note to all of this, like that you feel so much through your body and that you cannot get away with that. Your body is like, nope. No, not ignoring that. No. That means that there's also a lot of self-love underneath that, There's also a lot of, no, I'm here on planet Earth to take better care of myself. And nobody is taking full care of themselves. That's the hard part of being on planet Earth. We all disconnect from who we truly are and what we truly need. So the body is also bringing you back in connection and alignment with that. So there's also something really positive, of course, in you being so sensitive and experiencing a lot through the body. Because it's also for Lily, for example, I can feel that for Lily, her soul saying, no, we are not settling for less and we are reaching for the stars. That's also what she's doing with this. Really wants to suit me. It really wants to fit me. I can also feel that with you, Eline. And I believe that's for a lot of listeners. Like, no, I'm reaching for the stars as well. And in knowing what is good for me, knowing what I truly need.
I think people dealing with chronic illness in general, that you can say that they are definitely here for a new civilization as well. Like it's okay. We can't just be part of the herd, part of the cattle. No, we all as humans, we require a tailor-made approach. And that's something that we find incredibly difficult to accept. Because if my dad does it this way, surely I have to do the same. If my friend goes to Pilates, surely shouldn't I go to Pilates? Your body's like, hell no. So this tailor-made approach, we're scared of applying it or figuring it out because we're like, well, first of all, I don't know how, but also I can't fully embody the fact that I'm this special and this unique, which we all are. You are special and unique. So you do need a tailor-made approach.
Yeah.
Allow yourself and the people around you to figure that out with you. Because that's what I can feel for my daughter as well. She requires a tailor-made approach instead of going to school from Monday to Friday, 8 hours a day, So,
yeah, I really feel you on that. And also what you were saying, Sus, as well about, the feeling through the body. I guess it also brings up a lot of insecurity. At least it still actually does, if I'm very, very honest, still does for me. Where I'm like, why do I feel so much? Why do I seem to be so much more emotional? Or like I have obviously people commenting as well of, oh yeah, but you're very sensitive, but without the positive connotation to it. So I guess it also brings up a lot of insecurity. So I actually think what both of you are saying right now hopefully will help a lot of listeners to put the positive spin to that as well. And yes, it is very difficult to be then the one different from the herd because, what does that mean? What does that look like? How does my work-life balance look like if I can't do a 40-hour work week a week or even more than that because that's what's expected from a society? But I can only work 10 hours. So what would that mean? What would that look like? And that's very scary.
Absolutely. But your tailor-made approach, because that's what the sentence that came through just now are the ground principles of your purpose. So if you were to surrender to applying a more completely different approach in your life, even compared to a sibling or a best friend, you do you, quite literally.
Yeah.
You'll figure out also the reason why you've reincarnated, why you're here, why you're alive. And again, why do you want to figure that out? Is because that will make you the happiest version of yourself. So nothing is in vain, but it's important to realize that once you apply this whole new way of looking at yourself into your life, you'll figure yourself out in more ways than one.
Yeah.
Like in the deepest sense of the word, you'll figure yourself out. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it also allows you to reach for your highest potential. So that's
Yeah.
also very good news that we are ready on planet Earth to allow more of our deepest potential to be part of our experience. That's really what's happening as well. But we don't get there with following the herd. So that's
No.
why, like, the pain is guiding you towards, no, 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 this isn't working. This isn't working for anyone. But hey, if you are experiencing pain, that means that you are ready to turn away from that and to expand your consciousness into something new that is scary, but at the same time will help you reach your highest potential.
Yeah.
So there's this very positive, I believe, spin.
Yeah,
What
I
you
think
just said.
you just remind me of something that you said in the latest podcast episode, which was when you're in pain, you're ready for transformation. And so I just wanted to
Exactly.
reiterate that in here. So, you know, that
Yeah.
hopefully more people will be able to hear that.
Exactly. Yeah. And so to see yourself as a brave warrior that is ready for change. If you are experiencing pain, you're ready for change. But that wants to be added to the pain. It's not like I'm in pain and the pain won't stop. Like that loop. I think that's very depressing. And that's not what is happening with the pain. The pain is making you feel, like we already explained, who you truly are and helping you reach for that highest potential.
And adding on to that, why, again, because I feel it's important for your listeners to add a little bit to this. It, unfortunately, because we have been raised to be part of the herd instead of a unique being, we have become versions of ourselves that we shouldn't be. Okay, so that's why pain is such a beautiful way, a tool to allow ourselves to be more ourselves. And I think we've become fragmented versions of ourselves, and pain is just a way, especially physical pain, is a way for the universe to interfere and be like, hey, I'm okay with becoming more of who I am instead of you just pretending and acting like, you know, that you are who you are. I feel like it's almost the sentence, I'm in pain, that means I'm special. Or I'm in pain, that means I'm loved. Oh, I'm in pain, that means I'm guided. I'm comforted. I've been given a compass, you know, and so those subtitles will always immediately alleviate some type of pain, you know, whatever it is you're going through.
Perhaps we need some t-shirts.
We need some t-shirts.
We need that reminder, you know? And I also heard the sentence, I'm in pain because I'm important. Our souls are quite, because we experience pain every day. Like, it's not with us channeling this information that we are pain-free, but I believe that we touched upon that already. But because of the pain, because our soul feels very important, and our soul is like, no, not doing that conditioned life anymore that everyone is experiencing, perhaps not really consciously, but subconsciously, and feels a lot of pain underneath that. So no, you're way too important to stay stuck at that level. And I can see our souls now being quite arrogant. We are like, no, I'm way too important. So I choose pain because that's my gateway towards
becoming myself again.
A lot of beautiful stuff that is waiting for you.
Would you say it's almost like your soul's way of communicating to you?
Yes,
for sure.
always.
For sure. Yeah, because otherwise you wouldn't allow the change to happen.
No,
you wouldn't expand in a way that your soul wants you to expand, because that's always deeper and further than your mind thinks you would like to expand in who you are.
So your soul cleanses your brainwashed self, is what I heard. So the soul cleanses your brainwashed self. We've all been brainwashed. That's what this society, living in this third dimension of consciousness, does to all of us. And so when we're brainwashed, we're not really in connection with ourselves, our own anchor. And so, then we get fragmented versions. We become fragmented versions of ourselves. So, and I think, so the soul cleanses that. And it's constantly cleansing us from those thoughts that are no longer necessary, the way we view ourselves as no longer necessary, the way we act that is no longer necessary.
Yeah, and I believe it's good to add to all of that like who we think that we are someone different. You know, like who we truly are in our deepest essence is different than we think. You know what I mean? And there are a lot of things to still discover about ourselves, and that's why the pain is also here, because otherwise we wouldn't even go that far in discovering ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and also an interesting thing is because we also do end of life care, right? Something that came up for me was what pain makes you do is hyperfixate. Like you go, okay, I've got a stomach pain. Pain, ow, stomach, why? Ow, pain, ow, stomach, why? And it's also actually your cue to release that hyperfixation. So especially with the end of life care or the end of life guidance that we do, is how about we shift our focus away from it? That doesn't mean that you're distracting yourself, but just realizing that this human vessel is only your human vessel, so also allow for it to help you detach from
Yeah.
your thoughts, from that body, however difficult that is. But that's also sometimes like I feel like this hyperfixation, release it. It can only do harm instead of good, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. And at the same time, I also feel like if you're in that amount of pain or that amount of fatigue, how can you stop your brain from going there? How can you stop your brain from going into the fixation mode?
By allowing yourself to detach more from her,
Yeah.
from that physical body, which creates realignment, whether that's meditation, whether that's doing something that is just so creatively powerful for you in that moment in time. There is, and again, this may even come across as distraction, but let it be soul distraction.
Yeah.
If pain is the cue for you to reconnect on a deeper level with your soul, follow that soul and realize that you are soul having a human experience, and that in that moment, you're also invited to not hyperfixate, but to release and
Yeah.
detach. And so it's hard, but it doesn't have to be on a huge, you don't have to like start painting or something when you're literally bedridden,
Yeah.
but maybe allow yourself to listen to a podcast or a meditation or a body scan or something.
And we often call it the third person perspective. So that way you connect more with your soul's perspective. You can look at your human being from a third person perspective, like just look at her or him. And that is something that we all are capable of doing, to zoom out a bit, like, yeah, I'm fully captured by this human experience, especially when it's painful. We grab onto it, but there's a way out. There's a remembrance opening up in that pain. And just remind yourself of that. Like, hey, I can zoom out a little bit. I can look at her, him, and see what is really going on while I keep focusing on what perhaps my soul wants to help me feel or do right now. So just know that it's here. It's here. Yeah.
It really is.
What is your view on medication and the way that hospitals are running things at the moment? Because what I see a lot in the community is that people go to hospitals to get shitloads of medications and then being sent home. And after a lot of tests, it's like, okay, this is chronic. This is you the rest of your life. That's
Bye.
it. You're being sent home with meds and hospitals. You probably have that experience as well, Rachelle, with your daughter. What's your
Absolutely.
view on that?
Well, we will say, as much, we are psychic mediums and we do a lot of spiritual work. I do believe in science and in healthcare, just not how
Yeah.
it's applied right now, not how people, but I live in the US. Like, it's awful here. They just go, hey, the more drugs, the better. Like, the more numbing, the better. And obviously, we are ready for a major shift. So, do I believe that all medications are bad and wrong for you? All of these synthetic medications? No, because sometimes I do also believe that behind that there is a healer who created that medication,
Yeah.
a beautiful healer. However, yes, at the moment, what's happening, especially in the US, is they want to keep you sick so they can keep prescribing you
Yeah.
meds so they can keep making more money. Now, that's why we also address this in the podcast. It's like, that's obviously very concerning, because then it's not a hospital. It's like, it's a I'll keep you sick place.
Yeah.
I'd rather keep you sick because that's how I'll make more money off you. And it's starting to creep in Europe as well. I've heard around me. And so as a person that would lean and gravitates towards pain meds very, very easily back in the day, yeah, I've been pretty good. I'm talking about myself here. And so there is a fine line, because what I did was I did numb myself. I did override that connection with my soul by just bypassing it, and taking meds. So it's a fine line, because for Saskia, for instance, it's come through, hey, use more pain meds. Take that paracetamol when you don't feel like you want to take it, because you want to feel it, you want to embody this pain. Sure, do all of that too. But there is a fine line of both worlds existing beside each
Coexist.
other. Yes.
Yeah, and also know your tendency. Yeah.
Ooh, important sentence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Know your tendencies.
Because for me, it was also about like, hey, that can be something that helps me, right? Then that eases the pain without me needing to do something or being afraid of that outside help in a way. Because that was also part of rejecting every medicine that there was.
Yeah.
So, but when you asked that question, Eline, I could also feel the perspective of like you coming into a hospital, and then instead of receiving all these meds, the doctor saying to you like, "Hey, I'm so excited, your healing journey started. Something is being opened up in you." Like, can you imagine how that would feel? Instead of, okay, this is chronic pain, you have to live with it. Bye bye. These are the
Yeah, no,
meds.
100%.
That like that's such a world of difference in that. Like, hey, yeah, I support you. I trust your journey, because that's also not part of the medical system a lot of the
No.
times. Like, I trust the journey. It's not there.
No.
And we should trust the journey. And also,
Well, it's hard to
Yeah.
trust the journey when there's one doctor who's solo writing the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we need a multidisciplinary team that looks at every aspect of your life. And of course, that's not in place right now in any hospital,
No.
but we are trying to create. That's why, and also in a podcast,
Healing house.
we're like,
Yeah.
hey, we want to create this healing house where we go about things in a very different way,
Yeah.
with a very different intention, other than I have to make sure that you're no longer experiencing this stomach pain, for instance.
Yeah.
So, and also the problem with synthetic medication is we're such delicate beings, all of us.
Mhm.
So just prescribing something and saying, hey, for the next 6 months, take this 3 times a day. When you're an ever-changing being with an ever-changing constitution, it's like, hey, well, that's weird, right? That they're not monitoring you more and that they're not more on the nose with these things. It's like weird. That's
Yeah.
that's wild to me. And they do that more in pediatrics. So for children, they are a little bit more aware of that, but not enough,
Okay.
not nearly
No.
enough.
Yeah, and if you truly see it as a healing journey, then you would check in, because your state difference, right?
Yeah.
From at the beginning of the
Differs
healing
from
journey.
yeah.
Yeah, so change already happened. So there's something else that you need right now, instead of the same medication or the
Yeah.
same treatment the whole time.
Yeah, what I also really feel in this is that we tend to give away our own power to the doctors, where some people, I'm 100% sure that people will feel they had been, I mean, myself included, I've been prescribed so many different meds, and there were a few that was like, I actually really don't want to take this, but the doctor says this, so I probably need to do it, so etc etc etc. You give away your own power and your own intuition, actually, I think, to someone who is seen as an expert in their field, like by status, rather than checking back in with yourself and seeing whether you really want it or not. And even though I also feel, when I'm saying this, like, I don't want to recommend people to stop their medications right here, right now. Like, I
No,
want to make sure that
right.
that's said as well.
Yeah.
Like, do talk to your doctor about it, but don't forget yourself within that process and your own intuition, what your own intuition is telling you.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's very important, and I think that we addressed that also in the podcast.
Yeah.
We'll stop referring to that podcast.
Yeah, the
But
poor people.
it's
Because we still have to
but-
record the English version. We recorded
yeah,
it in
exactly.
Dutch,
We
but
will, but there's a Dutch version of it, exactly. But like we explained already, like when you are in pain, you can reach higher in the connection with truth, with wisdom. So the intuition of the patient should be always involved in the consultation with a doctor, because you're a beacon of truth. Because you are in the process.
Bacon of truth.
Yeah, I know.
A
I see
beacon.
that.
Oh,
Beacon,
yeah,
beacon.
a beacon. Oh, thank you, a beacon.
I was like, that's a funny word to
bacon.
use in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's use the bacon.
You all know what I know.
Yeah.
Mean a bacon, a beacon, a
Yeah.
beacon. Yes,
Beacon,
okay,
bacon.
sorry, a beacon.
Yeah.
And so
But it's
no, but
true.
that's very, very important. Very important. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something
wants
that
to
the
be-
doctor rarely asks, right? So what is it? I mean, I obviously, I did always hate, especially the GP in the Netherlands would always go, what do you think it is? And I was always startled, like, bro, I'm here for your knowledge, not the other way around. At the same time, for doctors to start asking like intuitive questions like, hey, but what is it that you're sensing or feeling? Or is there any emotional blockages? Or is there, it's wild that that's not happening yet, knowing that everything is interrelated and interconnected. But it's interesting because my daughter did end up in the ER last week, and she said to the doctor at hand, like, hey, listen, I know that you want to prescribe me this and that, but I just think I need another IV bag. So can you just bring me some more electrolytes? I think that is what I need most. And they were all a little startled because they were actually going to give her morphine. And it's like, whoa, there's a big leap between morphine and an IV bag, obviously.
Yeah.
But then end of life care, I will say, thank God there's morphine. How beautiful that morphine is about, or even heroin is about, medicinal heroin. You know, so there's, again, everyone who views it as like, oh, you're never allowed to, it's like, you know, no, they can coexist if it's all balanced out. If intuition plays a part in it, then it's all fine.
Just one other question that I received as well is, what makes certain illnesses or diseases or pain chronic? So obviously we can break a finger and be in pain, or have a flu and, you know, be sick for a while. But that's very different to someone who's chronically ill.
Absolutely. I will say one thing first, but I think we're just going to go back and forth, me and Saskia, because it's tied in with your purpose. So if something is in your life for a prolonged period of time, you can be rest assured that that's a big part of why you're here. I know that sounds really awful because it's painful, but at the same time, I mean that in the best sense of the word. It's meant to play a big part in your life, in the choices that you make, where you live, but also what you're here to do in the world. So for my mom, for instance, like if I were to channel her, she has been dealing with rheumatoid arthritis ever since she was 35 years old. And she's Indonesian woman living in the Netherlands. Well, that's already not a red flag, but like, hey, her body's probably yearning for something that you keep not giving it. And so this is becoming more chronic. But again, the main thing is the longer you have something, or the longer you're dealing with something, the more of an expert you are. Right? If you're in an abusive marriage for a very long time, you're clearly an expert in abuse, right? Same with chronic illness. Just know that you are slowly but surely becoming an expert that is also here to either inspire or help other people with the same thing. Yeah. That's one thing, one answer, but I'm sure Saskia has.
Yeah, no, so there is something else coming up in the word chronic, because that's also something that wants to be softened. Like there is some, like nothing stays the same on planet Earth. If we truly allow the change to take place, then nothing stays the same. And what we also talked about before, but there's also a lot of fear for the change. So sometimes holding on to like, but this is what I have, there's also a safety in that, not from the heart, not from the soul, but from the mind. So it's also the invitation to know that you are always moving beyond that chronic thing or illness that is here in a way that sometimes perhaps is hard to feel by yourself, but that you can ask help for, and so that you can feel that a bit more, or that you can and allow yourself to still step in that change that wants to take place. So not let it be an excuse, because that can also happen, is what I hear.
Not let it defeat you in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, oh yeah, but I have this and it won't change, so I cannot. But that's not the invitation. The invitation is always, okay, this is helping me grow. In what kind of way is this helping me grow? And then if you, again, lean into that growth, nothing will stay the same, is what I hear. So there will be differences in the state of being, in the medical state of your body, because of you following that expansion and allowing that change to take place. It can be very subtle, but it's still there.
On the level of constant cell division, because that's what we're experiencing physically, right? Is constant cell division. Everything changes. We're getting older by the second. Oh, very confronting, but it's true, right? So on a cellular level, organic level, we are constantly changing. So you would almost say that the word chronic illness does not exist. So on a spiritual plane, like if you look at, is that an actual term that should be used? And going back to my answer, it's like, no, you're just dealing with a certain topic for a specific amount of time in your life because it's important for you to become an expert in that field. Did you choose that consciously? Probably no, because it sucks. But you're an expert at this point. So, hey, spread your wings and fly and make full use of it.
I completely agree with what both of you are saying. And I also actually mentioned it during my last retreat. And also I see the Facebook groups all the time, like support Facebook groups. And I shouldn't be on them too much because I get like so, I don't know, like you can't share in the Facebook groups what you want to share. What I said was that by using those words, chronic illness, and I use it because it's obviously also what people know and what people resonate with, but by using those words, you block yourself from potential change. Like you basically put yourself in a prison and in a hold of like, okay, this is it. This is part of my identity. This is who I am. And if you're not changing those words slightly, and I also feel that you should speak what you feel. So, if you can't suddenly say I'm better when you're dealing in a lot of pain, like, but using words like maybe not chronic illness, but symptoms or discomfort or dis-ease instead of disease are already softer ways of being able to provide that change rather than I have a chronic illness and that's, you're blocking yourself. You're putting yourself in a prison with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Feels really important. Yeah.
Really
because
important.
It immediately creates more consciousness, allows more consciousness to be part of your experience. And it wants to be labeled as an experience, is what I hear. Yeah.
That's all it is. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Beautiful questions.
So
No? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to drag this out too long because it's been a whole hour already.
Yes. No, we are finishing up. I want to thank you both so much for providing the translation from the universe to Earth, to our human experience. And
love it.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and expertise and wisdom with all of us.
Thank you for having us. We absolutely loved it. Anytime.
Where can people find you if they would like more information?
Sus, are you ready for some socials?
There we go.
Our handle.
Exactly. Our handle is NYAP on Instagram, but also on Facebook. We have a website, of course, NYAPpsychic.com. So people are very welcome to ask their questions or send us a DM if they want to.
Know more or book a medical reading or do anything or strengthen their own psychic abilities. It has been beautiful to see that the more we're in tune we are with our psychic abilities, the more we do alleviate not only mental anguish, but also physical.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's what you can find us anywhere.
Yeah. Amazing. I'll put everything in the show notes as well. So for anyone listening, find it in the show notes. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.